Hey everyone, I have Amy here, and today we're going to talk about what's working right now when it comes to consistency in working the business and also in networking and meeting people so that you can obviously enroll them, launch them, etc., and grow the business. So Amy, thanks so much for joining us today. Can you give us just a little bit of a picture of like your before business and like where you are currently right now?
Yeah. Let's see. So when I first started working with you, a big word in my language about like kind of an identity statement was inconsistent. I have trouble being consistent in pretty much anything I do. And I have spurts of massive productivity, and then I kind of take my foot off the gas. So inconsistent was a really, really central piece of my identity, even though like I knew that wasn't a great thing, but I didn't know how to get rid of it. And it felt like it had been a consistent issue for my whole entire life, like
Sure.
my whole life. And no matter what I did to shift it, it just wasn't shifting, and it was discouraging and etc. So, and really frustrating because I'm a futurist is one of my top 5 in strengths. Like I see where I want to go. It's never for lack of vision on where I want to go, but the executing, like I know where I want to go, but can I consistently execute to get where I want to go? And that's where it always fell apart. Right. So, yeah, so that meant I was stalled, right? I was stalled at my rank. I was getting like very blah, just very blah, and unmotivated. And then what it took for me is 2 things: is putting systems in place that I could just follow even on weeks when I wasn't so excited to do all the things. And then though, the key piece for me is having them visually available to me, like right here. I mean, because like let's say I tried a CRM to be more consistent. I might set it up, but I'd never use it because it was out of sight,
Yeah.
out of mind. So, to go into the app and then pull up what are my tasks for today, even if it came into my email, that was again not visual because I'm not sitting there looking at my emails all day, right? And then there's other stuff coming in. So I need some paper and pen, paper, whatever, pen and paper. And yeah. So systems, and for me, they have to be visual and pretty simple.
Awesome. So you are a pretty smart person, right? You have a master's degree, you've been a practicing professional for a long time. So the fact that you can solve that consistency loop, how did that make you feel?
Oh, you have no idea. Like so good. Like
No, I mean
amazing.
not solving it, like before.
Oh, not solving it?
Yeah, because I think
Oh,
that this
stupid.
is
So stupid. Like, I'm a smart woman. Why can't I figure this out? That was the thing. Exactly.
you think other people struggle with that?
Yeah, I'm guessing they may.
Before we get into like the actual things that you started implementing to fix this, what advice would you give to them if they're listening to this right now?
Well, if you have your own business, you must have some vision or some drive, right?
Yeah.
And if you're having trouble getting there, because when you break it down, I mean, it feels like there's a little bit of a push pull between, is it mindset or is it skills?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right, we can work on mindset all day long. So maybe my mindset was pretty fine, except for I'm inconsistent, but I hadn't ever been able to execute the skills to grow confidence in myself and trust myself to do those things.
Right.
So, I think you have to figure out that balance. Like, what is it? Where am I falling down here? Is it my mindset? Is it my skill set? And then am I doing those things consistently? Is it both, right? Do I need skills for both or, help with both? And then like, you're probably not stupid. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, but that's not what you want to be doing, I think it's a matter of figuring a way to pull yourself out of it. And it might be a system. If we're talking about consistency, let's say.
Yeah.
It's going to be a system where you can just follow it even on the days where your energy isn't through the roof.
Yeah. So
and don't give up, right? Like, don't give up. Just find a way through. I always tell people, if something's not working, it just means something. I in my business, I say something needs healing. That's all it means. So like, healing in your business, healing in your life, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You just got detective, right? Figure it out.
I love it. So what we're going to talk about today is working when you don't feel like working.
There you go.
Do you love your business?
Yes,
Do you love your products and what you do for people?
I do.
Do you wake up every morning super pumped to do outreach and retention and social media?
No, I do
No.
not. No.
Okay. So I think that there's this idea that if you love your business, everything is driven by emotion, right? Like we choose a business to be joyful in our business. And at some point it's also work. That's why we get paid.
Mhm.
And I think that really throws a lot of people off. It's like, wait, this is not, I'm just not so excited to do every single task anymore. So how do you, I think we could just say, we obviously can't just take a day off anytime we don't feel good. I mean, I honestly woke up this morning with a bit of a case of the Mondays, went to
Mhm.
Temecula this weekend. It was too much fun. And I just rather, no offense, I mean, I really like you, but I think I'd rather still be at a resort in Temecula right now. So same, right? Like I think that's normal. How did you fix the consistency problem and work even on the weeks you didn't feel like working?
I'm an achiever, so I love to check stuff off, right?
Mhm.
Love to check stuff off. That helps my mood, if you will, and my motivation if I'm slumpy. It's sort of like an upward spiral. So keeping things visual, literally right here and filling in the boxes when things got done, right? Just filling it in to make sure
Can
at
you
least
can you
like
show us?
those things, yeah,
Yeah,
on the
show us and
screen.
explain your perfect week sheet.
Okay, and I'm gonna hold it up. We can, if you want to screen share it later, we can. But okay, so I had this little easel that I was using for booths back when we used to go out of the house. And so you helped me create this sheet, like you created it for me, right? And it sort of has personal non-negotiables. Just getting the idea in, there are non-negotiables. Is it working out 5 days a week? Is it going to yoga once? Is it, for me, like I had to put breakfast on here, mostly because I intermittent fast, but like let me eat breakfast, right? Lunch. Let's get lunch in 3 days a week, okay? And let's plan my day. Now that's not something I'm fully consistent on, but I know I feel a lot better when I do it, right? So that's a muscle I'm still developing. But what you did with this, with the non-negotiables, is you said, let's not have 5 boxes for the 5 work days. Let's kind of X out so that, like it's sort of like dinner. You gave the example, like at the end of the week, as a mom and a business owner, you can easily be like, oh, we ate out 3 times this week. What if you knew, like, no, my personal goal is we cook in 4 days a week,
Right.
right? And then at the end of the week, you can actually go, met my goal. Because I wasn't expecting myself someone more. Was it 5 days? Was it 7 days? I don't know. Did I fall down? Did I not? I don't even know. If I don't know what my goals are for success, I can tell myself I'm failing all day long.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of people look at the concept of daily method of operations of every single day. I do my morning routine. I spend time with my kids. I
Mhm.
do this outreach. I develop for 15 minutes. Like there's the list of 100 things that you're doing every single day,
Mhm.
which just doesn't work.
Never worked for me.
Well,
Ever.
I have not seen it work for anyone, because our lives don't operate in neat 15-minute increments. My
Mhm.
mom calls and needs to talk about something. Now I just lost my 15 minutes of whatever, right? And the 7 days of perfection, I think, is really, really damaging to people's mental, emotional, and business wellness, because it's not possible to be that perfect every single day. So you end up doing outreach 5 days, not 7 days or whatever. That's still pretty solid, but then you feel like oh, I'm not doing a good job,
Right.
which is rough. Or I'm going to work out every day. I don't
Mhm.
know anyone that literally works out every day. So then, you end up just feeling guilty and heavy and behind all the time.
Mhm.
So personal non-negotiables, perfect. Let's talk a little about your business non-negotiables.
Mhm. Um, so business non-negotiables, social media, post and respond 5 days a week, right? And I might end up doing more, fine. And then I might end up still working on a little bit of consistency with that. But something that I love that we talked about is I've come in, to our coaching and you've said like, okay, what was hard for you this week? Or what are challenges or whatever? And I'll be like, oh, I'm still not doing X, Y, and Z. Or I fell off, right? That would be my language. Like I fell off doing social media every day. I did it like 3 days last week and there wasn't a lot of engagement, blah, blah, blah. And it'd be kind of down on myself. And you'd be like, well, just pick it back up again. Just pick it back up again. Like move forward, right? And what was your analogy? If I'm carrying groceries in and I drop
Oh,
a
if you're
can
carrying groceries in, you drop a can of beans,
in, right?
you ball up on the floor in the fetal position and be like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I carry the beans in?
Right. I'm inconsistent. I'm incapable. I'm incompetent. Pick up the beans. Who cares? Right. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so just start it up again. Fine. So that wasn't critically helpful too, because it normalized the fact that you're not on top of everything every single day. Okay. And that's a muscle you build. That's a muscle I'm building. Right. So the social media thing and then schedule appointments. Right. So on that one, we've got 7 open boxes. It doesn't mean every single day I have to schedule an appointment, but by the end of the week, did you schedule 7? That's what I'm shooting for. And those for me include networking appointments. They could be wish lists, right? They could be sales conversations for enrollments, recruiting conversations. Did I miss one? Coaching, appointments,
Yeah.
maybe, unless those are kind of sad, right? That would be a gimme otherwise. And then networking groups. I'm aiming to do 2 networking events or groups every week. And then an email a week to my list,
That's
because
great.
that we're just starting out.
Yeah. And that's great. So how does having the visual there help with that?
Well, I literally just reach over and I fill it in. And I love when I get to fill a box in. I'll be like, oh, good, good, good. I didn't fill that box in yet. And then I get to, fill it in. And that my achiever gets just extremely happy. And then as the week's going on, it's all filled in. And then we'll get into completely weekly appointments in a second. That makes me really happy when I count them up and I'm like, did I hit my goal or not?
Right. Right.
And because there's been plenty of weeks in the last month that I feel like I'm not doing the things, but I look over, I'm like, so you completely did all the things. You weren't driven by emotion this month. You still did all the things. And that was reflected in my paycheck. Wow. Oh, I can still do the things even if I'm not like, woo! Like I just come back from convention or something, right? Because we don't just come back from convention every
Every
week.
week. Yeah. Well, I think what's been so interesting about watching you over the past 3 months, and just for context, right? Like Amy's won the incentive trip with her husband, like top in her company enrollments and all that. As we're downplaying that a little bit, because that's not exactly the point. But watching over 3 months, you'd come into your coaching calls and be like, wins, like 10 different wins, and then other challenges. Well, I just didn't feel very connected or motivated, or I'm still just feeling a little off. And so every time I'm like, so what? Right. And if you're watching this, you can see Amy's huge smile, right? Because in between, right, I'm getting messages that are like, this happened and this happened and this happened. But when you go back and reflect, you're like, well, I wasn't feeling emotional about it. But it's not to say that you don't have feelings about your business. It's something else, right? It's this idea of whether or not I'm feeling like working, I'm going to work anyway. I am going to say hi to people. I'm going to reach out to people. I'm going to just help people. And when you end up in a conversation, like on a Zoom call or in a messenger conversation, or maybe even some people still use the phone function on the on
A
the
green app?
smartphone now. There's a magic green app.
Oh
If
yeah.
you use it, you actually talk to people. It's pretty cool. Um, then it's fine, right? And I was talking to Karen, my business partner, the other day. Like we don't get paid when we make the sales. We get paid for the getting up to get to the work to make the sales, right? We get paid for all that resilience in between. So I love that. I love your visual. I am just so impressed with how things have been going for you. Can we switch gears and talk a little bit about, so right now, if you were to sum up what's working right now for you, it would be setting weekly non-negotiables, keeping a
Mhm.
visual up, crossing them off, and you have a whole pad, right, on your easel. So that way,
Mhm.
when one week goes, it's not like it just disappears. Because I
Falls
think that's
apart.
something that happens. People will make their list,
I
put
did
it
that one
up.
week.
What
One
happened?
week that happened. And I didn't have anyone printed out because I print like 4 at a time for the month, right? I could print more, but sometimes I've been changing it. So I didn't have it and it was a really off week. So I didn't have it for like, I think the whole week. So I was keeping track like on this sticky pad, like, oh, these are my people, like, huh? It was silly, so whatever. So I got it the next week going. I still did the things, but not as excited about them maybe because I wasn't watching them.
Sure. Well, it's a cutting corners on managing yourself ultimately,
Mhm.
right? Like not printing out the visual and being like, "Ah, it's fine. I'll just use a post-it or I'll just do it electronically." You know it doesn't bring out your maximum productivity. No, it's
Mhm.
a corner cut. It ends up showing,
Mhm.
right? And it's weird. So I like to shift gears. So if that's helpful for you guys as far as consistency goes, great. And you've been able to take time off with your family. You've been able to like get back into exercise routines and all that throughout this period, right?
Yeah, and I'm much more able to relax.
So
When
let's
I like on a weekend even, right? It's like I did my stuff. I'm good. Otherwise, I was constantly grinding and could never relax because nothing was ever enough. Partially because I wasn't doing the things, and partially because I didn't have that sense of like, no, I did what I said I was going to do. And over time, those non-negotiables did get bigger,
Mhm. As you
right? It
still
was like,
improve,
well, I'm
right?
doing this all the time. Why can't I add another day or a bigger workout or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about networking, meeting people, connecting. What's working right now for you?
A couple things. I mean, reaching out to people. I found a local chamber group that's meeting online. I immediately liked them. I immediately joined, and we just show up for a 1 hour a week. It's totally no nonsense. They're happy, fun people. And when I'm in that group, I'm in the chat setting up 3 to 4 one-on-ones with people because that's where, the real magic is, I think, for
Sure.
networking. You can show up all the time, but if you don't really get to know people, they're probably, it's not going to work as well. So, yeah. So then I get to fill in those appointments. I'm sitting in the meeting Tuesday morning and I filled in, 3 or 4 of my 7 appointments. And you said, you've said many times, and I mean, it just makes sense that let's say you're having a really good month. What set you up for that really good month? Was
Mhm.
it just the weeks in that month? Probably not. It was probably the 60 to 90 days before that
Right,
month.
right.
So even, I'm planting seeds all the time. So even if those one-on-ones don't immediately turn into anything, like I'm seeing, like 3 months later, they are like with the referral or whatever.
Right. I
That
I
kind
think
of thing.
that's so important. It's like you go to a networking group and it's like moving to a new town. And right, it takes a minute to build relationships. You mentioned before we started, you wanted to talk about the difference between online networking and online marketing.
Mhm.
Please
Um,
share your wisdom.
there's a lot out there. I think things have ramped up, especially because of COVID, where people are doing attraction marketing, maybe making coy posts. Oh, what's more important to you, this or that? And and like you said at one point, you're like, I think, where you're trying to maybe get engagement and create a way to move people over into a sales conversation. And there's times when I don't really want to do that. And I'm trying to figure out my brand, like, is that something I would do? Is it not? Does it feel genuine and authentic to me? And I think that's a big piece of social media, is getting people to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
And that might be through, as you talk about, posting about other stuff in your life, not posting about your product perhaps, or your business, putting some of that in, but how do you do it in a way that's authentic to you and feels consistent, and that people aren't gonna be like, wait, what is she doing? Is she now doing an online business? So, I've been like, how do I do that? What do I do? And you said something, you said to me, because I was like, I don't understand. Am I online networking? Am I marketing? Or like, how do I do online networking? And I was thinking that the marketing things I've been seeing were networking. You're like, no, it's like, so let's say someone comments on a post about, you going to Disneyland for the first time after COVID. Reach out to them. If you ran into them at the store, what would you do? Right? If you're networking, if you're a network marketer, you probably say hi to people. Okay, let's hope. So when you see them, so like if you see them in a store at a baseball game, you're going to go over and chat with them. Why wouldn't you, if that's a way that you're connected with people maybe you haven't seen in a while, or you're not seeing at baseball games, and they comment, why not throw it over to Messenger and be like, hey, how's it going? I saw you went to whatever. Right? So that was how I think I wasn't thinking, am I online networking or online marketing? I was confused. And you're like, they are two different things.
Yeah. Like we do, our coaching business does online marketing, right? Because we are not and I think this is where a lot of network marketers get really confused, because they're trying to model the trainers and coaches, which is a different business model than the network marketing model, right? We don't run a network marketing model. And so we use specific online marketing strategies, because our coaching business is much bigger than what networking can do at this point. There's no way I could deliver the coaching and do all the networking. And I've tried, and it hasn't ended well, because that's not the way our business works. And so what we do is we advertise things and we invite, right, pretty assertively, but it's a completely different strategy than what you would use in network marketing, which is basically word of mouth advertising through people who know you and you have relationships with, and then they word of mouth advertise to people that they care, to their community, and so on and so forth, where that isn't, right, how the gurus do it, like the coaching and training industry uses online marketing, where online networking is just simply building social, business, professional, right, relationships through an online communication, as opposed to an in-person communication. And I think that was a huge for you to be able to figure out, how do I do all, because you are an in-person person, holy moly. And you didn't go out of business during this time.
No, it was no difference.
Yeah.
I'd been working from home for a long time in my other business too. So it was no shift at all.
Yeah.
Really. And doing one-on-ones over the phone a lot, right? I'm doing a lot of one-on-ones. Just because that seemed to be easier for me to get on the schedule, and
I love that. So what encouragement or advice would you give anyone that's watching this video around being consistent with their work, like effort, and then being consistent with meeting people and building relationships, and the networking component of their business?
You want me to remember all three of those advice?
Well, okay. So what encouragement do you have for consistency and work, effort?
One thing I'm thinking is, for years and years and years, I heard top earners say, I meet 2 new people a day. And like daily was really hard for me, right? So I think if you've heard things that you think, oh, I should be doing that, or that was her path to success, that's going to be my path to success. If you've tried it and it's not working, maybe try something different, right? So for me, a daily format was silly. For me, it didn't work. But by the end of the week, if I got those things done, that gave me a little more leeway for that day. No reach outs happen, but I could do more here. So find something that actually works for you. And then if you're visual, make it visual. If you're, like if it's working, keep doing it. If it's not working, find another solution and create those non-negotiables for yourself, and then really hold yourself to them. And I haven't as much had to have this, but one thing that was really important for me, let's say before I started working with you, was having an accountability partner where in some format we put down our non-negotiables for our business that day that we're going to get done. And then we really held ourselves to it, and each other to. And it wasn't like, oh, you wanted to take a day off, you just want to curl up in bed, okay, that's cool. It's more like, get it done. Why aren't you going to get it done? You have till 10 at night or whatever, the thing is that you set up. That was helpful to me, and just thinking, if we want excellence, if we want to be top earners, or we want to make a large impact, then, like I always give the analogy, like Michael Phelps, you think his coach was like, yeah, eat 20 candy bars today. So take the week off. The Olympics isn't like a year, but like, you're good. Just okay, I understand. Don Miguel Ruiz has a book called The Mastery of Love. And in it, there was a section where he said, love isn't always mushy gushy. Those were not his words. This was a long time ago that I read this, right? It was when I was in a relationship where I was like, having trouble being mushy gushy. And he gave me permission, because I think he's pretty wise, to be like, no, sometimes love, and like, yeah, tough love. When I hear tough love, I think of like parents who have to do something really extreme because their kids are, having addictions or something. And that was always a little too extreme to get behind for me. And I thankfully haven't needed to be in that position. So it was interesting. It was like, no, sometimes love is like, how do you bring out the best in the other person? Or how, letting them, quote unquote, get away with something that they said they don't want, that's in opposition to what their goals are. You're giving up on them. Like, I'm not giving up on you.
Right.
Like, what you said, you do this. I know you're capable of it. You're capable of it. What can you do to get it done? And then like, yeah, okay, I'm going to get it done. Like if for me, that was helpful because I was building trust in myself and being able to do things consistently. And trust and confidence, right, is built through repeated experiences of success.
Right.
So that was super helpful to me. Now, a little bit, I haven't had an accountability partner for a little while, but I've got my accountability sheet and it's visual.
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm hearing is accountability doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen in our head, right? It happens through this idea of a productivity system. Like, you're an asset. And so it's like, okay, this whole thing is around, what are my non-negotiables versus what is my to-do? Like, you've never talked about a to-do list today. Right? You've only talked about non-negotiables. I must complete my non-negotiables, period, no matter what, versus I need to complete my to-do list for the day.
Yeah.
That's huge. And then the other thing is this idea of I need to hold myself accountable. I need to execute. I need to blah, 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 blah. You don't do that alone. You either have someone who's going to hold you to it, believe in you, right? We've been working together. And I know that's not an option for very many people that are listening to this. I mean, even just for availability purposes, but not going alone, even though you're an entrepreneur who's solely responsible for your business, is really, really critical to consistency, I think, right? If I didn't have a business partner that's counting on me to record this content on time, right? A business coach that's like, what's going on? If I didn't have those things, I don't know, maybe I would have stayed in Temecula an extra day. Just for no reason. So I love it. Anything else you want to share with everyone?
I don't think so.
All right. All right. Awesome. Well, if this video or podcast has encouraged you, please leave a little note. Let Amy know. It takes a lot to put yourself out there, your ideas and such. So give her some encouragement, tell her how much she helped you, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Bye, everyone.